Welcome to today's webinar presented by Docupace. We're excited to host this special discussion. Here are a few important items before we get started. Today's discussion is being recorded and a replay will be available on the Docupace website following today's call. All audience members have been muted and video turned off. If you would like to ask a question for one of our speakers, please use the Q&A button located on your screen. To begin today's discussion, please welcome our host, Chief Marketing Officer, Ryan George. Ryan, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Kristen, as always, and welcome everyone for joining us on this lovely Thursday morning. I'm so excited to have our friends from Due Diligence Works, DDW, Michael Freeman with us, as well as Matt Paulsen, one of our most seasoned, most fun, most knowledgeable experts we have on the enterprise space to talk about everybody's most fun topic, compliance, and how to be aligned with compliance. As I always try to start these things, to give a quote that sort of summarizes the land that we're in today. So I found this, it's unattributed because most people who make comments about compliance tend to not want them attributed to their name. But it says regulatory compliance is like doing a tightrope walk on a wobbly ladder, blindfolded, with a bowl of hot soup in each hand. That's pretty much the best example of how to describe what it is with regulatory compliance these days. And the reason for that is it's rather puzzling that all the different pieces of the regulatory puzzle that come together as one. So I just put together a quick slide of all the different new regulations that have been voiced as by FINRA or the SEC as topics that they're specifically looking at. Oh, hello there, old friend DOL fiduciary rule. Welcome back to the fray. We see you once again. This is the fifth time around that I believe that we've seen that come up again. But all these different, this is just actually a minor list of the major topics that they're looking at, which means they're looking at all areas of the business. Is always under scrutiny for good reason, but also it puts the pressure on the advisor and the wealth management provider to make sure they're aligned at all times. And if you feel like it's hard to keep up, I can understand why. And we're going to talk through a little bit today about how using tools like Docupace and DDW together can actually make it much easier. So with that, I'm going to cede my host duties to Mr. Matt Paulsen, who's the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Business Development here at Docupace. We welcomed Matt back here earlier this year, and it's been lovely to have him a part of the team. So Matt, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate that, and I like that quote as well. In fact, the picture of the individual going between the trade towers, I'm petrified of heights. It made my hands kind of sweaty. But really happy to be here today with all of you and be here specifically with Mike Freeman, who I've known for well over a decade in the industry. It's great to be with Mike. I knew him when he was at Citigroup running product there, and when they started DDW, when he founded it with a partner in, I think, 2017. Mike, is that correct?
Yep.
Yes, great. So I'm going to talk about three things just fairly quickly. One is an overview of Docupace. I know that there are customers of Docupace on. There are folks who are not customers of Docupace on the call today. And then I also want to highlight what we do, so who we are as a company, what we do, and then what we do together with DDW, just as a high-level overview. So next slide. Just as a high level of Docupace, it's a long story. We've been in business for 21, almost 22 years, but we started, but I will shorten it. We started as a document management solution provider, specifically for the financial services and wealth management space. From there, we grew to what we have today, which is a full straight-through processing platform, along with some other very strong capabilities that we've added to the solution. Today, we've got 130 enterprise clients and growing. You can see some of them there, some of them represented as logos there. And we're really very happy with what we've done so far, and we're really excited about the future and some of the partnerships that we have, one of which we'll talk about today. So a little bit about Docupace and what we do is, you'll see this next slide as it builds out. We have kind of four core capabilities, and which you'll see in the middle, which is obviously account opening, document management, compliance tracker, which falls into the category of what we're talking about today, but we will not touch on that specifically, and then advisor transitions. With that, though, we do need the ability to obviously to gather data in an effective and meaningful way. So a couple years ago, we bought a company called Precise FP, which is a data gathering and client engagement solution that integrates with CRM, financial planning, and obviously new account opening with us and many, many other solutions as well. It automates that process of actually collecting data and sharing it out to other solutions rapidly and accurately as well. It's a tremendous time saver and very popular in the marketplace. But then on the back end also, as we go through the process of new account opening and some of these other functions like transitioning advisors with their books of business, we also connect with clearing firms and custodians in an automated fashion, and then ultimately have surveillance and compliance and also compensation as a part of the Docupace offering. One of the things that we like to do, however, is where we don't have solutions, obviously partner and connect with other providers in the space like Due Diligence Works, DDW. And I want to highlight that integration that we're talking about today, which is really the reason that we're all here today, is to see this integration. I'll give a high-level overview, and then I'll hand off to Mike, where Mike will actually walk through it basically live so that we can see how it works. But one of the things that I love about this particular integration is that as an advisor is going through the process of opening an account for an individual or accounts, there are generally in the work items a number of different documents that are required. If there is a scenario where the opening requires some additional information from a compliance perspective, such as a 401k rollover, we identify that, we notify the advisor of that, and we provide a link for them to go and click on that link to go, in this case, to Due Diligence Works and answer all of the regulatory requirement questions and fee-based questions that are set in their solution. Once that is done, they can just simply hit a submit button and it goes right back into Docupace, where you can then see it kind of flow through the rest of the belly of the snake in that process. So it goes in as another document in the work item, ready for review, ready for signature, and then ready for ultimately compliant storage and compliant and secure document storage. So with that, and ask questions along the way, we'll answer them at the end. But with that, I'll turn the time over to Mike Freeman.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me here, and thank you to everyone in the audience here for joining us this afternoon. So you give me control of the slides here.
There you go, Mike.
There we go. There we go. Okay, great. So one thing I was thrilled to see when you had your client slide up there and some of your logos on the side is a good portion of those are also clients of DDWs, which is wonderful. So I think we can really help some clients out here, which is our goal. So at DDW, we work with about 60 plus clients on a couple of things here. We're going to focus on Reg BI and 401k rollovers today, but I'll give a quick introduction as far as what we do. So, who are we? Due Diligence Works is our name, a little bit of a mouthful, so most folks call us DDW for short. We really focus on two things. First, on the left side of the page is due diligence. So we focus on the products and the manufacturers in retail products that you offer, whether that's annuities or mutual funds or separate accounts, no matter what that will be. So if you work in a broker dealer and you have a product committee, think about a product committee in a box. So with our systems, we can really help you document, prepare for those meetings, help to support product approval, as importantly, product removal when they don't make sense anymore. And for the advisors out there, we provide all that research in one place. So it's all connected. You can see all of your products with easy access to research. And one thing that's been very important to us since our start was it is amazing what happens when everyone is working from a common knowledge base. What I mean by that is if product analysts that are approving product, supervision that's approving trade by trade, advisors that are doing the reviews, if they all work from a common knowledge set of information, then it is amazing what happens with culture working together and NIGOs going down. So that's one thing we really focused on by putting all that research together. Today, though, we're going to focus on our Reg Tech tools, and two in particular being Reg BI, with reasonable available alternatives, and the 401k rollovers, also called PTE 2020-02. So the first is our Reg BI tools, and here we focus on a couple things. First is you need to determine which account types you're recommending, which product categories, and then individual products that you're recommending. For those that have gone through or going through regulator reviews right now and audits, you'll see that loud and clear from what the regulators are asking for. And reasonable available alternatives are a key part of that. I'll even take that one step farther, is when you're looking at reasonable available alternatives, what regulators are asking for now is to go across product types. So if you're looking at variable annuities, did you compare that to an ETF? And that's something that, being a due diligence company, we are very good at as far as looking across products. On the 401k rollover side, so here it is all around, what is your current plan? What is the cost of it? What is the cost of your new destination portfolio? And what's the value proposition? Is it cheaper or more expensive? Very often here it's going to be more expensive to roll over to a full service firm. And what's the value proposition around making that change, and is it justified? So I'll have to document that along the way. And yes, these two can go together, as far as if you're doing a Reg BI review and source of funds is a 401k, certainly makes sense to put those together, doesn't it? So we do that as well. The due diligence side that I mentioned, so we cover many products, really all the packaged products out there. So funds, annuities, ETFs, managed money, structured products that we go through. And just a quick glimpse on the right side as far as what our portal looks like, where it's easy access to see a product, see some detail on a product. On the bottom, we have mutual funds that you can see, all the mutual funds out there. And we do something as far as industry products and your product specifically, so you can separate that so you can only see what's available on your product platform. And then the product coming box is all the documentation that we have. And we do put this in English for you, which is very much appreciated by our clients. It's not just the technical legal language, it's actually putting in English as far as what fits a client scenario. What does this product really do to help the client here? So a little bit about DDW as far as the RegTech tools and our due diligence and product shelf management. But now let's get into the integration with Docupace. So first here, and this all look familiar to you for the Docupace clients out there, is let's pick a client from the homepage. So here's just a sample here with the red arrow pointing to a client that we can select. Now is the new piece for you as far as how DDW can be integrated into Docupace, and is already. So if you want to, this is where you can really add value and make your life easier. So in a client bundle, we have many forms to fill in, whether it's the disclosures, the new account application, and also a 401k rollover. So that's what we're highlighting here. And then a DDW button can appear on your screen as we'd like it to. So we can hit the DDW button, and now this lets you complete that 401k rollover or Reg BI documentation. So let me jump into a live demo now if I can, and walk you through that. So if you were to hit that button, what we would do here now is, just one second, I have to move our faces over. There we go. Okay, so we would go ahead and launch into the screen. So from here now, what I can do is launch and complete my information here. So I'll start by entering some basic information around my name, the financial professional. And yes, if you're integrated, we can pre-populate a lot of the information here as well. Hit my next button, and we'll go through and enter now the investor's name. So go ahead and enter that as well. And then we'll go through and look at the information here on filling out the form. So first, the reason for the rollover. So it's either retired, we're retiring, in-service distribution, death of participant, or changing job. Let's say it's changing job. And now we need to go through a series of questions that we have gone through with the DOL to make sure we're asking the right questions. They had no issues with our questions here, and we're certainly in agreement we're asking the right questions. So do you have the option to leave your assets in your current plan? Yes, I do. Do you have the option for partial distribution? Yes, I do. Does your employer pay some or all of your admin fees? Typically, they don't know that answer. So I'll say unsure. Are you eligible to take a loan? If it's yes, do you need a loan? That would be no. And all these questions here, these are our questions that we feel are most important. If you have a view on that, we can change them very quickly. So if you already have an existing form you're using, we can certainly match your form pretty exactly as we go through here. So creditor protection is important. If you ask the question, most folks say yes. Am I between these ages? I am not. Do you hold a company stock? I do not. And is it important to have personalized financial advice from a professional? So yes. Next question is the rationale for the rollover. There's really three main choices here. I want to consolidate my assets. I want some help from a professional financial advisor, or I want an expanded product set, or something else you can do that. So pick one, pick all, certainly your choice. Again, these questions are very configurable for you. Next, we go through and look at your current plan. So how much am I rolling over? Let's say it's $100,000 from a 401k. Now, does the investor have the plan documentation? For those that know what a 404A5 is, that's where you would go ahead and put your documentation here. If you don't know what I just said, you enter I don't know. And I'll tell you, most clients do not know what a 404A5 is. So here we can now pull up your plan. Here we're accessing the information from the DOL to pull up all the plan documentation here. And the first section here is from the 5500 report of the DOL, where it tells you all the plan documentation. Our next area here is the cost. So the administrative cost, the investment cost, and the total cost. So you can now understand the cost of the plan. So my next area here now is in the proposed portfolio. So what am I proposing to roll over to? So I can go ahead and fill this in. This comes all from our documentation now. So say I want to go ahead and pick an annuity. I'm going to add a rider here as well. So I'm going to add another one here from Jackson, a variable annuity. And I want to pick their one of their income riders here. And maybe I will go ahead and pick an ETF as well. So then I can pick multiple product set. You see me pick some annuities, some mutual fund, some annuities, variable annuity, and a RILA. Here now I can go ahead and enter my information. So I can say I want to put 50,000 here, and I want to put 25,000 in here and 25,000 in here. So now I'm building my destination portfolio across product sets. Lastly, now I want to do my comparison. So what does my current plan offer? It's an asset allocation, say mutual funds. This is in the 401k and a risk tolerance. So my proposed IRA is going to offer more. Here's where we get to the cost benefit analysis. So I can now buy some annuities, I can do asset allocation, mutual funds, the personalized advice, maybe some planning as well. So now I've done that, the value proposition of rolling over. Lastly, now is the recommendation. So there's really four main answers here. I can remain in my current plan, I can roll it to an IRA, I can liquidate, or I can go, move to another plan sponsor. Let's say for this scenario, I'm entering and rolling to my IRA. I can now split my ticket between a Roth and an IRA, depending on the configuration and source of funds. But let's just say for this, I'm moving to the IRA. And lastly here, I want to input my reason here for the explanation. Again, we can have free text here. We can also do choices here for you as well, if that's what you prefer. And lastly, what we'll do now is we can now preview our screen. So here's now we produce a nice little output here for you, where now we're looking at, this can be your logo. We will now look at your financial advisor, your investor information. Here's where we get to the core of the analysis as far as the ERISA plan. Total cost was around 17 basis points. My destination portfolio is 146 basis points, made up of that ETF, the couple annuities I picked, and that ETF. The blended average of all this is 146. Now we look at the comparison as far as what services am I offering, and you'll see in my new proposed IRA, the services are higher. And with the recommendation. From here now, what we can do is, I did a preview on the screen, and what we can also do now is jump back into Docupace, where now I can bring the information back into Docupace. And this is the integration that we've been talking about. So now the same data you filled out, you hit a button instead of preview, it will now send it back to Docupace, where now you can now enter this back in here. Your form is now complete. It now enters here for a client signature with the rest of your bundle. So now your whole documentation here is stored in Docupace, where you can send out with your client bundle, and your client can sign as they would every other form. So the new account form, understand their disclosures, and looking at the 401k rollover. So that is the core of what we're showing you here on the Reg BI side. I'm gonna pause there for a second and just hand it back to Matt to give any perspective here, and then I can certainly show the Reg BI side as well. So Matt.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. I mean, I think at this point we want to possibly just go to questions to make sure that we leave enough time to answer questions that folks have about this integration and about how it works and other questions you may have.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions, Mike. Then you were going to show us another solution as well, correct?
Yes, I'm going to show you the Reg BI side. I just want to take a pause just to make sure we're addressing everything.
Yeah. The question I have first for you is, we're about 2.5 years into since the Reg BI regulation interest has become effective. How do you think the overall industry has adapted? Have we stepped in and actually, it's across industry, people are doing, following the rules, and or is it people are still sort of wait and see, or they still don't know where to go?
So it's been an interesting journey. And for those that have gone through DOL and Reg BI, it has been quite a journey over these 7 or 8 years of doing this, even before with the suitability side. When we look at Reg BI, it started out with the disclosures, so Form CRS. That was the piece everyone had to get in place. And to be honest, that was the easy part, is adding a disclosure and publishing it. Easier said.
It would be the easy part. It should be the easy part, yes.
Easier said for me, harder for some of the technology to do. But that was the first stage of this. And then came the CARES obligation part. And that's probably what we're in the thick of now. And this has been going on for probably a couple of years now in the CARES Act, the CARES part of this year, around showing reasonable available alternatives. And for those firms that are not doing this yet, a year ago, you were kind of with the pack, now you're behind. So you really need to get moving on this. And the part that regulators are focusing on now is going across products that I touched on. And I'll show you this in my next demo here. So if you're recommending a mutual fund, first is the category. I want to recommend a category of mutual fund. Some firms look at the category. You really need to get to the individual product now, where you can go through and compare an American to a Franklin to a PIMCO fund in looking at the individual products. But also, when I mentioned going across products, mutual funds typically cost more than ETFs. So why are you picking a mutual fund that costs 100 basis points versus an ETF that maybe costs 7 basis points? And that's important to do. That's where the regulation is going next. So it went from product category to individual products. Now it's going across product in the reviews. And we work with 60+ clients, many of which have gone through audits, many of which are going through audits. So we do get the collective knowledge from the DDW community that helps us look at this more. And there's a power in numbers here that we certainly get better together.
Mike, no, go ahead. Yeah, Mike, isn't that something that's kind of unique to DDW as well? The ability to cross over with different products and not just stay in one product family from a fee structure standpoint and reasonable alternative perspective?
It is, and it's something that's been important to us since our founding. Products by their nature are very siloed. But when you think about a client, they are not. An advisor is not at all either. They can, an alternative investment or a mutual fund or an annuity or a cash product can fulfill a client need. So if I'm want to generate income for a client, an annuity, a dividend portfolio, covered call strategy, many things can produce that client need. That's what we're really trying to focus on, is the client need. So since our beginning, we've always gone across products. The ability to show that in a unique way that lets you look at client need first and then produce, look what the client need is and which products can fulfill that client need, regardless of their structure that they're in. And structures are always changing. There's always new stuff coming out as far as different structures. But what's the core of what we do is what client need is it and what purpose attributes does that product have to fulfill that client need. So we're one of the few that does this, and we really incorporate that into all we do.
Yeah, and simplifying the complexity of what you just described in a tool makes it really, really a valuable solution, I think, as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We had a question from the audience, Michael. I wanted to ask you. So this isn't just a prototype. So what you're showing us is something that clients are actually on board and using today, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything I showed you is live today. I did show a couple of screenshots on the Docupace side, but that is live today as well. I just wanted to remove some of the innocent names behind that as far as what's there. But they're live today with current Docupace and DDW clients, and our system, of course, is live as I showed you. It was a real system.
All right, well, look, I would like to hand it back to you, let you show us the next solution.
Good, let's do that. All right. Okay, let me go here. So let me walk through now the Reg BI solution. Okay, so again, a similar flow here. So I'll start with the financial professional. Then we're going to go through the investor information as well. We're going to have an attestation here to ensure that I have a clear understanding of my client's financial situation and needs. I'm going to attest to that. So again, we're documenting here, and you'll notice that the screens are lighting up as I'm going through here. The reason we do that is there are no NIGOs. You can't pass go unless you complete the form correctly. So it significantly reduces the NIGOs for those that are doing this on a manual basis today. Next, we want to go through and look at the account type. So first, I've compared and show my client fee-based and account types. Starting with the account type structure is the kind of the beginning of Reg BI. Am I looking at commission or fee-based? And either one is fine. Just got to make sure you explain to your client the right way. So let's say I'm staying in the commission world and input reason here as far as what we're looking at. So that's the account type recommendation first. We then go through and look at the the product selection. And here's where we can integrate the two together. If you're doing a Reg BI conversation and source of funds is a 401k, we simply branch out to that 401k, and you've seen a lot of common attributes in these two forms where, yes, you don't need to enter them twice. We'll bring them in for you. So here, if I want to look at, say, American funds, and look at, here's my different universe here, and I say I want to pick an American Balance Fund here. So that's, first look at a product here. Say I want to pick Alliance Bernstein Fund as well. Again, this is, you can sort by words, you can search by ticker, whatever makes the most sense for you. Again, talking about the theme of going across product, you want to do that as well compared to an ETF. So here, we're looking at 3 different funds here. And if I unselect it, they become reasonable available. And here's my selected choice here. So here now, we are looking at, sorry about that, here is the fees here. So I'm comparing the 2 different funds here, and 57 basis points, 100 basis points, and 3 basis points. But let's say that I'm thinking this is the right one for me, and I'll enter my explanation as far as why. One of the best ways you can defend your recommendation is to pick a very cheap product like an ETF. And why would I pick this balance fund or this concentration fund? Well, it generates alpha. Its performance has been better. It focuses on more geographical dispersion or different sectors. There's many different reasons of why you would pick that. And in our system right now, the advisor is picking that. We also have a feature where we can pick that for you. So we can generate these reasonable available within DDW and give you explanation as far as here's a sample reasonable available for you to pick from as well. So either the advisor can pick it or the system can pick it, and then you can move forward with that choice. So here's now the reasonable available here in the brokerage side. If I have advisor, I can do that as well. Then lastly is the product rationale. So what's my reason for picking this? And if they are structured products or mutual funds or variable annuities or alternatives, here's where we're just putting some documentation to add a little more explanation here. Input reason here. Add a little more explanation to really justify your complex products that you have. So you don't want to overcomplicate what it is as far as how we go through here, but we're looking at your account type, your product type with your reasonable available, and now this produces a document here as well that we go through, and your output is right here. So we can go through and look at your financial professional, the investor information, the account type that we mentioned, the product selection, Here we have our selected product and our reasonable available alternatives, documenting that for you. Here we would now go ahead and input your disclosures, your link to your ADV or Form CRS, and your commission structure. Therefore, we link to it live. So if you go and update yours, it'll automatically update and is there for you. But this is a point-in-time recommendation. And of course, your business model will change over time. So therefore, the links always stay live. And lastly is the rationale for that recommendation. And then signatures, if you choose to have signatures or not. We have some clients that do, some clients that don't. It's really up to you. And what we do is this is the preview version, and then we would send this right back over here to your client bundle, where now it can be right here, and this is where all the data pre-populates here. So the main part of the integration is all those data elements that we have are now we send back over to Docupace and map it back into the form automatically. So all that same form would appear on your right-hand side here and create in this client bundle. So now all the documentation is right back in the bundle and you can follow the rest of the paperwork through the belly of the snake, as Matt mentioned. So that is it. The 401k rollovers and the Reg BI, filling it out in our system and then putting it right back into Docupace so you don't have to swivel chair and it all works seamlessly together in a nice fashion. So I'll pause there and hand it back to Ryan and Matt.
Thank you, that's great. So as we're letting questions come in, I am going to just walk through our newsletter. So if you're interested in learning more about Docupace, one of the things that I think we do well is each month we send out a content-focused newsletter. It's based on all the topics that are most important in the industry right now, that are most top of mind. It's not, I promise it's not an opportunity to push products, really it's to push our best thoughts on what we're seeing in the marketplace and relay that back to the audience. So you can sign up for that on our website, docupace.com. Also, why don't we have a very popular blog that we post a couple articles generally a week, again on the same topics that you see in the newsletter, which is what are the best practices for using technology tools, what's going on in the minds of compliance officers and other things, how to grow your business. So check those out. I'm also available on LinkedIn. So Matt, I will kick off our discussion with you because I think you probably are the best person to answer this, which is, well, wealth management providers generally have two paths when it comes to new compliance or compliance rules. They can try to throw bodies at it or build it themselves, or leverage vendors like Docupace and vendors like DDW. Can you tell me a little bit, let's just choose path two and why, make the case for why path two is often a good option?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ryan. And as we know, having lived through DOL and now Reg BI and kind of the resurgence a little bit of Reg DOL as well, I think that we've seen every flavor of what you just described anyway. People trying to do it on their own, outsourcing it to consultants, try to build it, try to do it manually, whatever the case may be. We do know this is that there are a lot of facets of these regulatory requirements that there is no one vendor that satisfies all of it. So, which is the reason that we have gone out and partnered with firms like DDW to do some of this. We saw kind of through the process that Mike walked us through, some of the complexity around just the product side of it, just the fee side of it, just the making sure that you were in compliance from that perspective. But when you look at that as a part of the overall process and the flow, we start with this work, kind of these work items that are in Docupace. We go to the DDW solution without really realizing that you're leaving Docupace as a part of the same flow and process. And it doesn't really matter what solution it is either, because we're a universal new account opening platform. It could be literally any of those products for the same process as well. So then when it gets through the process, it comes back into Docupace, it goes through the regulatory, the OSJ, all the supervision, review, etc., and then ultimately to storage, which is what everyone needs anyway as well. And in the broker-dealer space, the 17A3 and 17A4 compliance, both doc management and storage, etc., and then just overall regulatory compliance if you're an RIA. But having that automated in one seamless process is vastly different than trying to manually fumble through going to one solution then another and then going to a document repository to see what your company put together, etc. Hopefully that answered your question, Ryan.
Yeah, that sounds like a situation where it's not impossible that you would miss a step accidentally or miss a piece accidentally because of having to go from different things. Michael, I have a audience question that's directly tied to the rollover product. So you walked us through a brokerage rollover. Does this also pertain to advisory accounts as well?
It does. We had two sections in there, brokerage or advisory. You can do both. You can do one or the other. So if you're strictly a broker dealer, we can remove the advisory piece. If you're strictly an RIA, we can remove the broker dealer piece. If you're a hybrid, we'll enable both. But yes, it absolutely applies to the advisory side. In addition to that, what we can do is, if you have home office models, we can populate those into our system. So if you have a conservative, a moderate, and an aggressive model, we can pre-populate those models into our system that has your embedded expenses as well. So there's many things that we can do, or if your rep is PM and you want to allow advisors to go ahead and pick those products, you get to define the products, whether you let them do just mutual funds or let them do anything else, you can do that as well. So yes, advisory and brokerage both work very well together.
There's a quick question from the audience. If this is something that Docupace would be requiring, it's not. This is, DDW and Docupace are just partners trying to help clients in the industry be compliant. The people who may require this are the regulators, and that just depends on whatever provider that is. Another question for you, Michael, is the product list. So walk us through a little bit of how something is determined what is reasonably available, or that you meet that requirement. Like, is there a giant master list of all available products that you're being able to pull from?
Sure. So there's two parts to that. And as I introduced DDW at the start, we have our reg tech tools, and we're a due diligence company. So we research products all day long. And if you start with industry products, which is this big, you then have your product shelf. If you want help with your product shelf, that's a key piece of the business that we do as well, as far as help you define your product shelf, which simply is, what do you keep, what do you add, what do you remove from your product shelf on an ongoing basis. That's what we spend a lot of time doing as well. So that is the available universe to select your product, because your products first you need to optimize product shelf where you have the right products available to purchase. And then for reasonable available, come from that defined product shelf. Whether we do that or you do that, it gets done somehow. And then that's your pool to look at. When the advisor picks, so they're going to pick from the products approved on your shelf. If you let our system pick, we go through and we score products all the time. So if you're looking at a large cap fund, we're going to look within a large cap world and then do some of our scoring as far as find the best products available to compare that to. So it's a bit of a due diligence, a bit of scoring, and a bit of product shelf management helps to accomplish that goal.
Hey, Matt, question for you. You've been, in different facets, but you've been working in a sales and solutions-based process, specifically on compliance tools, whether it's a surveillance tool or tools like Docupace. What is some advice you give to somebody who's buying those solutions? Like, should their expectation be in terms of adoption from users, and how do they get their business really wrapped around it?
It's a great question, Ryan. I think that first, you need to look at what you're trying to solve for, because there will be a solution set that you're trying to solve for there. Then the solution is probably fairly complex, where you do need kind of a combined solution like what we have with DDW, because they do what we don't and we do what they don't. And together, we actually build a very complete and strong solution for at least this part of it, right? So I think that you look at that, and then you look at kind of usability and the experience that the advisors would have with it from an adoption standpoint, and make sure that it's trainable, it's repeatable, that it's intuitive, et cetera. And that's what we've tried to do here, obviously. But that's what I see in the marketplaces where people really struggle, is where something's cobbled together, it's not very intuitive, it's too complex, it doesn't work right, et cetera, which is exactly why we've done what we've done, trying to make it exactly not those things and have it be intuitive, have it be simplistic. Even though it's solving complex problems, the process becomes simple. I think those are key to actually kind of solving problems and adopting it.
That's all the questions we have. I think we're at time. I want to give each of you a chance to have any final thoughts. So Matt, since you've got the conch, I'll let you go first.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed what they saw today. Those of you who would like to see more about DDW and our integration would love to talk about that. Anyone that would just want to see DDW on its own or just Docupace on its own, please reach out to us as well. We would be very happy to have those discussions and help you understand how we might be able to help you from a compliance standpoint or otherwise.
Michael, thank you for being our guest today. Any parting thoughts you'd like to give the audience?
Just to echo those thoughts, we'd love to have further conversations and certainly help our mutual clients. Or if you want to extend to either one of us, we're happy to have those conversations. But, our core attributes is, we know products very well, and we build extremely good technology. And bringing those together with great partners that do the operational side of the business very well, being Docupace, is something that we can all help our advisors. Our main goal is to do what each of us does well and reduce the swivel chairing and to make a great experience for your advisors. So we'd love to talk more.
Thank you. Hey, well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Michael, for being such a great host for us today and sharing your knowledge with us. I think it's been great. It's been a lively discussion. And I appreciate the audience for their good questions, but also being, joining us today for the session. I know they've got their time is important, so thank you for spending your time with us. And until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Ryan.